Good morning, Tony. Are you ready for today's assignment?
I'm ready, Charlie. Charlie does
Very.
that, right? Or does Bosley do this? No one did it in the movie.
Way to screw up the bit.
Listen, you gotta warn me if you're gonna do a bit about it, because I don't know anything about Charlie's Angels. That's a good. Is that a real speaker?
Does it sound like a real speaker?
It does sound like a real speaker. Did you spend money on on this bit?
Yes, of course I did.
Yes, of course I did. I appreciate your your commitment. It's good to. Don't be mad. Don't be sour.
Throw it in the trash.
Oh my God.
Yeah. $27.99 down the toilet.
You spent $30.
Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. It's Hey, watch him, yeah.
Welcome to Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan.
And I'm Tony.
And we watch movies or have had watched movies, and then we get on the internet and we complain, bitch, because we could be out actually doing something creative ourselves, but instead we do what the internet does, which is be self-referential and eat its own tail.
Yeah, it sounds good. Also, I've tried to do creative things and they don't pan out. So, I'm good.
So this week we had my pick, which was the 2019 blockbuster failure or mediocre failure. Here comes the cat. Yeah. Charlie's Angels, starring K-Stu
and
Naomi
Scott
and Nat Faxon and whatever the other girl's name is, who actually I enjoyed.
Yeah, no, she's great. She was actually probably the best one out of the three. Yeah.
You were like, through the whole movie, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it was like she felt like the leader.
She not only that, she's the only real spy in this movie, and it upset me greatly. But I'll put a pin in that idea.
So yes, Charlie's Angels, meant to be this big tentpole blockbuster that they would then, make repeat after repeat, based on the old TV show, which was super corny, based on the reboot movie, which they made 2 or 3 of.
For sure 2.
Full Throttle. I have the feeling they made 2, which I think McGee directed number 2.
Who I thoroughly enjoy, by
the way. They were the fare that you were expecting from this movie, and this movie did not deliver on that fun action flair.
Yeah, there was very little fun. Very little fun.
Very little action and very little character.
Yes.
And a lot of stiletto heels.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of heel shots. So
yes.
Maybe that was like a thing that I didn't understand because, I'm a man or whatever. I don't know.
It was interesting because this movie felt like they were trying to make a comment about the male gaze, and then in a lot of cases, it really sort of went right where the male gaze wanted to be.
Yes,
which didn't make any sense to me.
Weird to me because the movie opens with this like great little speech by K-Stu about like, oh, women can do anything, and she explains why she's good at a job. Like men takes, what was it, 7 more seconds to register women as a threat and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. This is going to be like a fun, like a fun jaunt through some like, not anti-manhood, but like pro-womanhood. And I was like, yes, this is going to be great. But then it kept going the other way for me, where it was like, oh, well, what the man thinks is wrong, except for in this case where they're right. And I was like, wait, what is happening right now? I don't understand.
Yeah, it was very girl power, but the girls never felt like they were empowered. Always felt like they were just sort of quipping about being in power, and then sort of never really proving themselves in a strange way.
Yeah.
And once again, these characters are not characters. They are just a small amount of lines on a page. It was interesting because we did Stealth last week, and so I went back and I watched first 20 minutes of Top Gun, and then I read the whole synopsis. And in Top Gun, he's like too cocky and he takes too many risks, and then he has to learn how to be a team player, and he gets broken.
Yeah. Oh God, like he gets broken.
Harshly broken, and then has to come back for the team to prove that he's a team player and has learned the lessons throughout the movie. And it's like, there's none of that in this movie.
But there's a line in this movie that says that she learned that lesson. Yes, I don't know if you want to talk about, because that's the end of the movie. But I was so infuriated. Did you write down what she said?
Oh, of course I write. Probably the only line I wrote down in the whole movie. What's her name? Her name is Jane, who I loved. She says, "You convinced me I don't have to do everything by myself." And it's like, if you'd have started the movie with that as her premise, which they kind of slip it in there a few times.
But not really. Not to the point where it ever becomes a danger to herself or the team. She never jeopardizes a mission because she's like, no, I'm going to take care of this myself. I don't need a team. I want to see that character. I hit my mic. I'm sorry. I get fired up about this movie. Why didn't she have that arc? That's a great arc to have for one of your characters on a team-based film.
You've written the lines, so that's what you can do with the character, and it's sort of like they hint at it, they dance around it, but they don't do it. They choose not to do it at all.
Do it, and it's so frustrating to me. And because she's genuinely a badass in this movie, like her character is awesome. Sorry.
Sort of.
Can I amend it?
She's a badass when they want her to be a badass, then she becomes fairly ineffectual when they want her to be ineffectual, which they have made that decision whether she's going to win every fight unless something happens.
But she has great moments throughout the film that show what this character could have been. And I understand that they're going for an origin story, so obviously I'm led to believe if they do a sequel that she'll be like full badass or something. I don't know. But there's just some really cool moments they give her in the film, but they're too far between, and they don't really hold any impact for the rest of the movie. And I get upset.
So we start out in this hotel room, and it is a whole teaser. And so K-Stu has gotten Johnny, which...
Well, you don't like Johnny Australia? Or what?
Just calling him Johnny is just seems a little stereotypical for an Asian man. Calling him Johnny, just I don't know, seemed kind of stereotypical to me. So she's got him up there, and so she's basically telling him that he's under her control, and she does a whole not pole dancing, but silks.
I don't know what the ribbon, not ribbon, because that's
they call it the silks.
Okay.
Aerial yoga or whatever the hell it's called, and she does a whole thing with that and doesn't and wraps it around his neck. Mm-hmm. And then 1,000 other angels pop in and immobilize everyone.
You're getting ahead of a cool moment, though. Is that? Did you not like? I liked the intro. Up until the moment she rides on the chopper, I was in. So, which we have to get to because it's the dumbest scene I've ever seen, I think, in a long, long time. But I love this scene where she's tying him up, but the guy's oblivious because he's a man and she's a beautiful woman. I like this moment, and I think it's a great place to start, and it kind of gets me in the mindset of, Kristen Stewart's character, who's supposed to be a little, cuckoo, just a little bit, she's a little crazy, but also, badass. And I love that he's he has this look on his face where he's he can't decide if he's aroused or scared, which is great. It's great.
Okay. Yeah.
And then she kicks his ass, which is awesome. But then, 100 other people come in, and I was like, okay, well, that was kind of more of a team effort than I thought was going to happen for when there's supposed to be 3 angels, I thought.
And that's the whole thing of the angels is you've automatically in this first scene sort of blown up the idea of three, of these teams of three, which there's like 17 of them and they have hoods on and you're just like they're super
What's happening?
ninjas.
Yeah, I don't
and
understand.
and so you you kind of characterize two characters and then you have all these sort of secondary characters for no real reason. I mean, you could have just cut the numbers of people and just made it Jane and her.
Why would you not do that when it's their movie?
And they also make the point of Jane and Sabina don't know each other and aren't even working together in some weird way.
Thank you for bringing this up, because that is another thing that frustrated me. And then they meet a second time after an unknown amount of time has passed, when they finally do a real team up, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're June. What?
Who are you?
How
Have
do
we
you
met before?"
Right? Like, you guys went on a mission together with no. You didn't train together. You didn't meet each other. There's no trust on this team, as far as I can tell, because you don't know each other. Like, what is happening right now? That's weird.
That's the whole sort of central thing, is they're trying to make Jane this sort of loner, and they're trying, I mean, not but that's the sort of implication, is that she's this loner who acts alone, which of course she was acting with a giant team who
With
all acted in
50 other
perfect
people.
concert.
She should have busted in that door. So Kristen Stewart should have said, "I'm the decoy," and then Jane should have come in and kicked everyone's ass. She should have taken out like 15 people while K-Stu took out one. That's how that should have gone.
Yes, and that's another thing with this movie, is they sort of go into trope land, which when you go into trope land, you got to stay there and do the tropes, because you know what? We as consumers want the tropes.
Yes.
And the more tropey they are, the better we feel about it.
So we understand it, we connect to it. We're immediately like, "Oh, I know what you're doing. Let's do this."
And then you turn the switch and everybody's surprised. Exactly. They have a weird Simon Pegg as the dude, as the accountant, for no reason, for no jokes, for no laughs, for no nothing, for nothing that makes any sense or is any use. So then they sort of finish up, and then Jane kicks her off the roof, sort of.
So I just realized how many problems I do actually have in this intro. You're right. Never mind. I take back what I said before. So, and this also connects to the end line again. I don't know if you remember Kristen Stewart's end line, or not end, but close to the end, when she's laying in the hospital bed or whatever, and Jane is crying, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't think you cared about me because I'm kind of annoying sometimes," or something to that effect. And I was taken aback, because I don't think that she is that annoying in this movie. She has some one-liners, but she's not like a Chris Tucker type character, or like a fast-talking. She should be throwing out one-liners left and right through this whole movie to really make me feel like, oh, okay, she is annoying a little bit, but also redeemable because she's cool and gets the job done.
Well, but so Jane never calls her out on any of this.
Also,
she's like, "I like you." We don't understand any. That animosity I did not see throughout the movie at all. If she was annoying, like you annoy me, I'd be like, "Tony, shut up, your jokes don't work." And
I say this to me all the time, and I don't care. I still go.
That's our relationship. And they don't have a relationship, because we don't need relationships.
Nah, not in this movie.
So she kicks her out the hotel ceiling, and then she appears on a helicopter, and she's like waving or something.
I think it's the peace sign, isn't it? She's doing like something like that, like a Miley Cyrus look or something.
And so then they cut to the music, "Girls All Around the World," which the song is in my head. I like the song. It's a great song.
The song is great. I am confused by the girl power montage. Not because I don't think that this should be a girl power movie, but those people aren't in the movie. It has nothing to do with anything.
Nope.
And I was just so confused while it was happening. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't understand it.
Basically, there's a 3-minute girl power montage where it shows girls, paddling in boats and doing skate tricks and being cool. but
Yeah.
it's no one that has anything. It's just like random youths of America.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't get the aesthetic choice, if you will.
Then we have the whole Bosley thing where we learn that the Bosley is the first guy, and it's also the title for the people that handle the angels, which are generally men, except there's a couple of them that are women. One of them being Elizabeth Banks, who actually used to be an angel, and there's one other woman on the screen. And so
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart's the original Bosley, and he's retiring. They give him a watch and say goodbye to him.
Yes. So I do.
Oh, sorry. 1 year later, for some reason.
Right. Yeah. For unknown reasons. Why I don't. There's a lot of weird things in this movie that don't make sense. So my question is this, because I didn't really do a lot of homework before I watched this movie, which maybe I should have. I don't know.
Really?
Is in the show, it's just one team, right?
Just one team, period.
Okay, because they're like an elite team of 3 awesome angels. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I wasn't confused, because when this scene happened, I was very confused, and I was like, "Wait, so there's like a bunch of Charlie's Angels teams? I don't understand what's happening here." But okay,
So, whatever reason, because they want to have thousands of angels for a joke at the end.
oof, yeah.
So we'll
Oof.
just then we meet Elena, who works for Brock in Brock Industries,
Mhm.
and she's walking around with this little thing in her hands that we don't know what it is. We have no idea what it is, and she's like carrying it around,
Mhm.
and she ends up in that faction's office, and then she's all like, "There's a problem with the blockchain, and this is dangerous, and it'll fry brains if you don't do this." And he's like, "Blah blah blah. I'm a businessman. You're
Mhm.
dumb scientist. We're not going to fix it. We're just going to sell it."
Yes,
And
essentially.
and this is Tony's dream girlfriend, playing Elena.
I'm a big fan of Naomi Scott. I think she's great in everything she does. I will 100% say that. This movie is not she's not great, but she's still good. Okay, she's still good. She's the second of all 3 of them to me. Like it goes Jane. What is her? I wish I remembered her name. I forget,
Elena
but
Sabine.
Elena's okay. She's like number 1, right? And then K Stu is obviously last for me. But did you like K Stu?
No.
Oh, okay. Because so I read a review. This is now I'm on a tangent real quick, and I promise I'll get back to the office scene. But I read this review where someone was praising Kristen Stewart for her comedic timing in this movie.
Sure.
And sure,
I mean,
I did not
no.
see that happening, and it shocked me for 2 reasons. One, because I mean it was awful. Like I didn't feel like she had any rhythm or any, like her tone was wrong when she was delivering joke lines, and her timing was off. But then also, like, why didn't the editing tighten those up? Who edited this film to keep in like just slightly too long of pauses in between joke lines and reactions? The rhythm felt off completely from everyone that made it. I was very confused.
No, I mean, they say it's like an action comedy. I don't think I laughed once at all. Like not even close to laughing.
I think I did laugh. I don't remember where, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, comedy is just someone saying a line. That counts as comedy. And so they did this whole bit with Burt Lancaster and the Birdman of Alcatraz and Batman and
do you want to talk about that right now? Because I am fired up about that line.
Why?
What gives them the right, while making this terrible movie, to make fun of poor Ben Affleck and his Batman attempt? That is, first of all, I mean, I am a Ben Affleck defender right now, a Batfleck defender. We can talk about that at a different time. The movies are trash, straight trash. All of them are terrible. I have no, I'm not confused about that. But he does a fine job, I think. He's just not given anything to do, and then everyone kind of shit on him. And I was like, listen, he's in a bad movie just like you are right now, and you're making fun of him? He should be making fun of you. That's how I felt about it. I was very upset. My wife can attest to it. I paused the movie and went on a little rant because I was so upset when they did that line.
Walked around the room.
I was so fired
Not his
up.
fault. Not his fault. Everyone else's fault. Affleck.
Sorry.
So let's go back to the widget, which is called Callisto.
Oh, that's right.
And there's a problem in the blockchain. Do you know what blockchain is, Tony?
I don't have any idea. Not even a little bit.
Blockchain is this programming where it's this series of numbers that makes it so you can't get access to the information. So it's like a coding system, and it's
basically what it says. Block. It's a chain of digits that block you.
Well, a chain of blocks of digits.
Okay. Yeah.
And the thing about it is it's used in cryptocurrency. Okay. Mainly, which is the idea of cryptocurrency is it's money that doesn't exist, but it has to be like hidden and secret so that I can't just make it. It's really complex. It doesn't
make any sense to me, but yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense in the programming of this thing. It's just a word that, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's some super scientific blockchain person. They're going to be like, you're an asshole. But
I hope they watch this. Please do.
It made very little sense to me why they're bringing up blockchain other than it's a word that you can say.
So did you look up blockchain, or did you kind of have a cursory knowledge of it?
Oh, I knew that. Yeah, I knew.
Okay, because as someone who has never heard that phrase before, I let it pass. I was like, okay, blockchain. There's something wrong in the programming of the blockchains, and I was like, all right, I buy it. I don't know anything about it.
And that's exactly it. That's just like laziness, you know. I mean, if that really meant something. Okay, so what? Tell the audience what this widget does.
Gives lights. I don't know. It lit up a room at one point. I think is it a replacement for energy? Because they talk a lot about the people that invented the light bulb. Great. But it's not a light bulb, right? It's kind of like Alexa, where he kind of, or Siri, he talks to it and he's like, hey, do this thing, and then it does it. And then it lights up a room and it's like, go full power, and it lights more lights. And where does it get the energy? Like, I don't understand where it gets its power and what the device is actually doing. I don't understand. Do you understand it? Can you explain it to me, like blockchains?
Of course I can't explain it to you because it doesn't make any sense. It's the stupidest thing ever. It's basically, and you said it, all it is they took Alexa and they said, instead of Alexa being a port that, connects you to the computer or the internet, it's a port that brings energy somehow to your house something.
But from where, right? Like
who knows? Who knows?
All right. Well, I'm upset still then.
But more importantly, it can be used to kill people.
Again, I'm on board then. Like, give me some sort of blah, 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 whatever. I'll buy what you're saying. But again, where does it get the energy to create the EMP device that short circuits the brain? That's where I get confused. So are they saying that the tiny device is just full of energy itself?
I think so.
So how does it transmit it to the lights that it's powering? I know these are questions that probably can't be answered, but I'm curious.
I mean, could you build such a device? No.
Okay.
And that's the whole thing, is it just doesn't, there's just so many things, because they want to sort of say that we've turned Alexa into a way that we can kill people in their houses.
Which I'm totally on board for. That's awesome.
But you see, I'm totally against that because it's totally stupid. Just like how long would it take if like someone is sitting there and their brain is burnt out and they're leaning against the Alexa? Everyone's going to be like, wait, what happened? And then it happened. Like the second time it happens, are you going to keep your Alexa in your bedroom after that? Or are you going to take your Alexa and throw it in the trash?
No, it's straight trash. It's going away. Even before that, even if someone just said, hey, you know what might be possible? Someone could hack that and create an EMP. Again, doesn't make any sense to me, but I'd be like, okay, well, I don't need that in my house. It's not even that helpful.
Exactly. And like, it makes energy. How are they going to figure out who to kill with it and how to kill them? If it's Alexa, they can be like, well, it's connected to the internet and you're asking it questions and it hears your voice. You see, that
Good way
makes
to track
sense.
people.
Yes. And so you're like, oh, this is that Saudi prince we wanted to kill, and we hear him talking and we killed everybody in the room. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But once again, you're going to be able to use it once, and you're going to have to roll out this product and spend
So much
billions of dollars,
money.
and you're going to maybe get 2 people killed off of this stupid thing.
Totally worth it.
Maybe. Because if
Totally
they wander out of the room because it only goes about 4 feet or something, 8 feet, or it's pretty
that's right.
random.
It's very, yeah, that's right. It's very, so you have not only, okay, that's a great point I didn't think about. So not only are you have to super target whose house you're in, but you have to make sure that they're by the device. How do you do that?
Well, if it was an Alexa, which is if I was writing this stupid movie and wanted a stupid thing that did a stupid thing like that, that's what I would do. But instead, they wanted to be different than an Alexa, so they made it power.
So basically, it's like, so you'd be like, Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes, and then Alexa would be like, not today, Dan, and then send an EMP device.
Die.
That's a fun movie. I want to see that. That sounds good. So Matt Faxon's a creep, by the way, in this movie. He does that really well. It scares me.
Well, he's a Groundlings improv guy, and if you want to hire a guy to not be funny and actually be a character and kind of a caricature, wow, surprise, surprise, he can do that really well.
Yeah.
And they don't give him any jokes because, if he started joking, people would laugh when they're not laughing at anything else in the movie.
Well, that is true.
So then we have the Paris scene where K-Stu and Jane get back together.
Oh, in the boxing gym.
Why it's in Paris, why they did this, why anything, why.
Why would you make a movie where they have to meet? You're already introducing someone who isn't an angel already. So now you have like intro. Just let her join the team and form, finally form the perfect team. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand the choice. But anyhow.
Then we have the big coffee bar scene. So Jane is somehow, and that's another thing with this movie is they instantly can have jobs exactly where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in perfect whatever. So Jane's in there serving coffee. Elena showed up and she's talking to Digimon Hanzo Bosley.
What? Wait.
That's his name. That's that dude's name, Digimon Hanzo.
Is it?
Yeah, he's got the greatest name ever. He's great. I love him.
Oh yeah, he's always fun to watch.
He's wonderful. He is creepy.
I did not know his name was Digimon because that's
something like
that's
that.
a card game, right?
I'm probably saying it wrong, but that's what I call him, Digimon Hanzo. I'm probably getting it all wrong, but
that's fine.
Leave a comment, say Dan's an asshole. I'm an asshole. So Jane's like there. She figures out that the bad guy's working on his computer because something I don't even remember. And so Elena's talking to Digimon Hanzo about what has to happen, how she contacted the angels.
Well, the receptionist at her
gives her the card,
and then there's a nice callback at the end that she's apparently one of the million angels in the world.
But how did they know to give her the card?
I don't know that. Also, why isn't just the receptionist doing the whistleblowing at this point? If she's infiltrated this workplace, why does she need someone else to become an angel in order to, I don't understand. I'm a little confused.
Important, if she's an angel, why didn't they use her as part of their plan where the wig plan where they go in and wig out? That's
another great question. Very smart.
It sure seems like there's zero coordination between every angel's just like doing the solo thing, talking to one Bosley or another Bosley, and the Bosleys nobody talks. So then the fight ensues with the big bad guy, Mr. Hodak.
Yeah.
It's a terrible fight.
Okay, so agreed 1,000%. Here's the thing. Elizabeth Banks, very talented. I like her a great deal. I think she's very solid. She can't direct an action movie, it turns out. I think if I was a studio and she had just knocked it out with the Pitch Perfect, because I think Pitch Perfect is A+ material. I love that movie. Haven't seen the third one, but they're good. I'd be willing to take a chance on her. I don't think that it was a bad choice at all, but it just, it doesn't always work out. And I feel like she needed a crew around her, and I don't know the facts about it, but if she had a crew around her that were like seasoned vets of action movies, I think that maybe that would have helped a little bit, because
I mean,
it's
maybe
sloppy.
they were, maybe the stunt coordinators were there that were necessary, but it didn't feel like it in this fight scene. You didn't feel like, holy moly. And in this fight scene, the man he dominates Jane. Just like every move, he dominates her. And at the end, she completely dominates him, right? Because she's like, I understand your 7 moves, which is like the dumbest line ever, because he doesn't have there aren't 7 moves. He doesn't say, karate chop, karate kick, hold this, it's like, if you're saying a thing, but we're not, that's the movie I would write. Yeah. We don't see, so whatever. So Jane gets completely dominated. K-Stu is on the top of another building looking down from a vantage point for no reason.
Not only no reason, but she is the worst spy in the history of the world. She's not paying attention. She doesn't know any of the code words or the lingo. In the beginning, she didn't know what embezzlement was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she goes, embezzlement, that sounds fancy. And maybe that was supposed to be a joke. I don't know, but it just sounded like she didn't know what embezzlement was. And it turns out she's like a rich white girl, so she would probably know what embezzlement is because her dad or mom probably did it. But she's just not good at her job, and I don't know why she's an angel.
And that was another thing about the very beginning, is they're after Johnny because he stole the aid money.
That's right. That's right.
Which they try and get those whole things where the bad guys are like doing to downtrodden populations, which is really weird. So stupid coffee bar battle, which I don't even want to talk about. K-Stu's spends the whole scene running downstairs and looking for things and not getting anywhere. Then we have the big car chase, and this is what really pissed me off. We have the bad guys in the car, and then Jane and Elena and Digimon Hansu are in the other car, and they're going, and she's like, let me get my gun. And then he pushes a button, and this gigantic machine gun pops out and just starts raining hell on their car. Yeah. And then Jane finally gets her gun, and it's it's decent size, and it's like fine. Bang, 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 bang. And you're just like, once again, they've missed the joke. The joke is Jane's like, let me get my big gun. She pops up with the big gun and starts, and then he like pushes the button, and then his gun comes up and it's 10 times bigger than her gun. Bigger. It just rains hell on her, and she's just like, retreat. Whoa.
Yeah.
But no, he has the giant gun. Then she comes up with the little gun, and you're like, she's already outclassed, and she doesn't register that she's outclassed, which is stupid.
Yeah. Also, the chasing, very boring.
Very boring. So the guns don't do anything for a long time until they do a turn, and Jane hangs out the window with just a pistol and shoots at his wheels.
So, I just want to talk real quickly about the CGI and the stunts of this movie.
Yeah.
Really poorly done. Just all around. Okay. The CGI is awful. Like the chopper in the beginning is the worst CGI I think I've seen since like 1984. And then even the drop down scene, I've seen that in another movie. I don't remember what movie it is, but I feel like it's probably Tom Cruise or something doing it. And maybe it worked better then because they're doing the stunt for real as opposed to faking it. Maybe that's my problem. I don't know. But it just didn't look real. And I know that's dumb to say in a movie, but I'm not invested in this action scene because I'm like, well, this doesn't look real. This looks stupid.
It's interesting because having rewatched Top Gun, which is from the 80s, it's like you look at those airplanes, and those airplanes are big piles of metal. Yeah. And they have weight, and they have everything to them. And these things, it's just like little cars, and you never feel like anything because 1,000 bullets fly and nothing happens.
Nothing. So, yeah, that's a great point to bring up. People are dead. I don't know what people, but those streets aren't empty. And he's he is spraying gunfire going through a car. They didn't all hit the car and just get blocked. Like he's just spraying. I don't know. There's a lot of collateral damage on this scene.
So their car goes in the river. Digimon Hansu is dead. They lose the Alexa, the Callisto. Jane saves Elena, and then K-Stu finally shows up on her motorcycle. She jumps off her motorcycle flies and hits the bad guy. The bad guy then gets up. K-Stu is pointing a gun directly at him, and he pushes a button. His car explodes, and she falls down, and he just casually walks away.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't take the shot. She doesn't get back up and take the shot. We don't see that she couldn't take the shot.
This is a great moment to talk about the Angels' morality throughout the movie.
Up and down, up and down, up and down.
I don't know if I agree this up and down. It seems pretty clear to me that they absolutely refuse to kill bad guys, but they will kill innocent civilians like it means nothing. Let me find my note real quickly, because
it seems like in the rock quarry part, don't they kill a bunch of people?
Finally, yes.
Oh, finally. Okay.
So, where is it? Maybe I'll find it later. I don't know, but I'll bring this up. There is not a bad guy death by one of the Angels until over an hour and 20, I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. But they have killed 6 civilians and did not care.
What civilians did they kill? I don't even remember them killing any civilians. They killed the guard. I remember that.
Killed Ralph the guard. They killed a couple people like as collateral damage. And then they even bring up that collateral, like when she kills Ralph, they're like, oh, it's collateral damage, don't worry about it. But then they absolutely refuse to kill any bad guys. Their number one priority is to capture the bad guys, and everyone else, be damned. That's what it feels like, and that's why she didn't take the shot, is because they're not allowed to kill the bad guys.
So I've written now they go to a safe house, and Elizabeth Banks is now their Bosley.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what happens at that safe house. Maybe they start making Elena an angel, sort of.
Is that
no?
Saint?
That's not the big. That's the second safe house. Is the Saint guy?
It's the Saint. Okay.
So then we have 3 wigs, which is they all break into the place to try to steal the Alexas.
You're right. Stop right there. We need to talk about the scene before where they're looking at where they decide on the haircut that they're going to use.
Yeah.
So they're looking through the pictures of employees, I assume, at her company, and are like, we can't look like her.
Yeah,
we can't look like her.
That.
Why didn't we see any of the pictures, Dan? They make jokes about the people they're looking at, but we don't see them. So we don't know what the joke is. What are you doing?
And there was another scene. The beginning of that scene was Elizabeth Banks is on the computer, and she says, Elena, is there some program or way that I can access the company's people? And Elena's like, yeah, there is. And then Elizabeth Banks immediately says, oh, I'm already in.
Well, because she goes, there is, but it's behind a bunch of security. She's like, oh, I'm in. It's like, what?
Why did you engage Elena if you're not going to ask if she, this is the point at which Elena actually proves herself and starts giving them some helpful, like, oh, it might be useful to have you around.
Because they say several times that she's a hacker throughout the movie. They're like, she's a great hacker, but then there's a chance for her to hack. And they're like, oh, don't worry. We know how to do it too. It's fine. Why is she a part of the team then?
Because nobody has special skills. Then we have 3 wigs where we set up 3 wigs with Kristen Stewart stealing this one guy's thing. And there's the most gratuitous ass shot in the world.
At the gym.
At the gym.
Yeah, we were pretty upset. She doesn't use it. I'm okay, because I'm a man, so I will tell you that I'm okay with a little bit of, using your sexualization in the movie. Like, I'll allow it. Guilty. But she doesn't use it. It's not she's wearing the sexy shorts to, seduce the guy or be like, oh, look at my butt while I steal your stuff. It's just there for no reason.
It's sexualization for the audience.
Yeah. What? Why?
Which doesn't make any sense.
Why do we need that?
I don't know. So they do this whole thing where they're all sort of dressed the same, and somehow every security camera only shoots her from behind, because security cameras, they don't have any front-facing security cameras. That's why we were set up with the whole ass thing, is because security cameras always look at you from behind, because the security guys only want to look at your ass. And we do this whole, pee in the shells thing where they're walking around, and Jane falls in love with a guy for what reason we'll never know.
Oh my gosh, that guy is bad. So I started commenting on how bad he is, and my wife was like, "Oh, he's like a thing. He's apparently like a big deal now. He was in something called All the Boys I Loved Before or something like that. He's like the romantic lead, and apparently people love him right now. And I am so confused. He's not very cute, at least conventionally.
Didn't seem cute to me.
He's totally devoid of any charm whatsoever. He's such a dullard. I was like, well, Jane, what are you doing? He's not funny. He's not cute. He's not cool. What are you doing?
And Jane, like, at the end, falls all over herself over him. And you're just like, Jane, who's like super hot, super cool. And you're like, what? Like, if they'd have given him something like, he's like sees her gun and he's like all da 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 da. There was no connection.
There's no witty banter. There's nothing.
There was a little bit of, because they talked about potassium or something.
I said
phosphorus.
Witty banter, Dan. I didn't say dialogue. Okay.
So they do this whole thing, and they get one Alexa, and they go down, and she has to jury rig it to blow a thing to open a door, which makes no sense.
Mm-mm.
And then Ralph, who was like kind of a little sleazy, comes down there, and it kills him.
So now I understand that we set up Ralph as an unlikable character because we're going to kill him, and we don't want you to think that the angels are bad people. I'm okay with that on paper.
I'm not.
But I get it. I get the argument against it. I'm okay with it. But I'm not okay with the fact that nobody cares. If you want me to think that they're not bad people because he's not a good guy and it's like, oh shit, we killed a bad guy, at least make them care.
Yeah.
But she just murdered a dude. She's not a spy. She's never killed anyone before in her entire life. And she's totally cool with it. She's like, oh man, I think I murdered Ralph.
Well, she has a line where she feels bad about it. But
she has a line where she feels bad about killing a human being for the first time in her life.
But they're like, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I wouldn't worry about that. Why? Why not?
So then we get to then we get to the second safe house, which is where the dude is.
Okay, this is the Saint.
Yes, the Saint.
Is he a character from before? Then what the hell is going on right now?
I think that the idea of the Saint is we're trying to show that there can be a good man. And that good man has to like care about your hair, has to care about your clothes, has to care about your Instagram posts, has to feed you, has to give you bombs, has to sort of be like this ally servant.
It's such a weird scene to me. I'm fine with everything you just said, but that's not what I got out of this scene.
Oh, that's not what you got out of it. Okay.
No, I was just bored. They talk about the food that they're gonna eat. Like, I don't care. Why do I care what you're eating tonight? I laid out this very nice spread for you guys. Oh, you're such a saint. I don't care what you're eating. Talk about the mission. Do something. And it, like, I don't understand why this scene exists. It's so boring.
It exists to sort of lay out how men can be allies to this weird feminist world that they're trying to lay out, which I found him just sort of annoying and sort of...
Yes, he was. He was very annoying.
Sort of vacuous.
And then, is this where they go to the closets?
This is where the closets are. Yeah.
So when Elena's like checking things out and like, oh, these are cool, and he's like, no, they're not. Some of these things explode, and she picks up the Altoids, and then he knocks them. Go to hell, sir! You don't do that. No way. So he's an ally, but he's allowed to just like slap things out of your hand and treat you like a child, like an idiot child. I was very upset about that. Also, those Altoids, not that dangerous. They're just tranquilizers, guy. It's fine. If she pokes herself, then she would have saved herself later in the movie when she accidentally pokes herself. You idiot.
It's true. They weren't bombs. They were just tranquilizers.
They were tranquilizers, and then she does it to herself later. If he would have let her play with them in the safe house, then she would have learned and known not to do that in the field. So he ruined her life.
Baby's got to burn their hand before they know, Baby's got to burn it off.
That's true. That's a thing.
And that was, I wanted to sort of talk about the Instagramination of the nation. And this whole thing, and the way they sort of deal with a lot of stuff is it's this sort of Instagram culture where it's not culture. It's just like, I'm wearing this. Because they're like, oh, now we're going to pick out a bunch of clothes and you can keep them. And it's just so materialistic as opposed to these characters having like full grounded real lives that mean something to them and that they care about.
They're not characters for sure.
So then
are costumes a big part of the show? Do you remember? Okay.
I've never seen the show. I mean, I've seen little clips of it and little bits of it, but we didn't watch the show when we were kids. It was on when we were kids, but it had no interest for us.
I just assumed, and I don't know if I'm right because I should have done more homework, but I just assumed that costumes were a big deal. That's why they kept focusing on it. I felt like maybe that was an homage to the show, but I don't know.
Farrah Fawcett's hair was the big deal.
I do remember that. Yeah.
So then we're in Istanbul, and oh my God, still so much terrible stuff. We meet Fatima, who used to work with Jane, and she works in hospitals, and they have to give her a bunch of medical equipment and feminine products. And that's great, but it's kind of like, we're going to give you this stuff. It's not like I get your shipments every month. Of course, I'm going to help the Townsend Agency. It's like, it's a quid pro quo. It's like, this is a world that only interacts when it needs to interact, as opposed to being this sort of girl power world, which would be great, where they'd be like, yeah, Fatima, she's going to be pissed at me, but the Townsend Agency makes it right and pays for her whole clinic. But no.
Yeah.
And then she basically just says he's at this hotel.
So, right, which is ridiculous. Here's my thing about this scene is that they try to make this the backstory for her character leaving MI6. I would have liked to have seen that at the beginning of the movie. Instead of the opening scene where nothing really happens, I would have loved to have seen the backstory where she got someone killed and ruined that relationship.
But that's the thing, is they don't have any interest in exploring Jane. Jane really feels like she's almost like an afterthought to be part of an action movie.
Which is really too bad, because I think she's the most interesting character that we have. And it's just totally wasted. So
something happens at a hotel. I don't even remember what happens then. This is before the racetrack. What happens between them finding where Nat Faxon is and something at a hotel?
Oh my God, I don't even remember. I mean, they decide to follow him because he's there.
That's not when they blow. Oh no, the hotel blows up later. So I guess there's something at the hotel. Who the hell cares? Then we're at the racetrack. And the racetrack is like, Elena's doing hacking. Jane climbs up a tower and has a trank gun.
What tower is that, Dan?
I don't know.
Why is nobody else on the tower? What? I'm very confused. I didn't understand.
Which, of course, we all understand how racetracks work. Is they have a huge bandstand or whatever, a huge stand in front of the racetrack. And I don't know where that magical tower would be that would give you access to seeing
I
everything
don't
that
know,
occurs.
but it's a perfect vantage point. Thank goodness it's there.
And of course,
Because
when Jane does take a shot, she of course misses the shot because
because they're not good at their jobs.
they suck. So the racetrack, Elena hacks something. Jane shoots the wrong person, and K-Stu has to jump on a horse and then make a magical maneuver to do the amazing thing of throwing a tracker at the car.
Yeah. So, a couple of thoughts. This is another place where I was confused at the lack of stunt work because the horse riding is just a lot of shots of feet riding a horse. What is that? What are you doing? Why don't you hire someone to ride a horse and be cool? Why this is an action sequence of your film. You're finally you're catching up to the bad guy and there's nothing?
Well, they never catch up to the bad guy. They just sort of keep missing the bad guy, and then
Cuz they're
nothing.
in a movie that is trying to empower these women. They are all terrible at their jobs.
She makes the throw.
Yep, she makes the throw. Great. Great
So
stuff.
then we go to the rock. They follow them to the rock quarry, where I don't even know what happens. Elena's in the computer room. They put the stun thing on one guy, and he's stunned for literally about 90 seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
He gets back
They're
up.
not great.
And you're kind of like, what? I don't. And they didn't explain that. They didn't say, "Oh, these are for taking a guy out for 15 seconds."
I think it's an escape plan, right? So it's like your last effort. You're like, oh, Altoid, I gotta get the fuck out of here. But it's I again, that's why I don't understand why he slaps it out of her hand earlier. Like it's super. They're not dangerous at all. They're probably the least dangerous thing in that entire room. It's a terrible joke.
So they battle in the rock quarry. K-Stu gets thrown into the rock eater.
Because she's a bad fighter.
And there's this one shot where she's trying to scramble out of there, and she looks like she's just like it's like really, it's really embarrassing. It's not cool at all.
What if it was Kristen Stewart actually panicking and they're just rolling the camera and be like, "Oh my god, we got to cut. She's scared."
So Johnny's there, and once again somebody's pointing a gun at Johnny,
mm-hmm.
and then they just let Johnny run away.
Is this is this the where Nat Faxon gets?
He's dead. He gets killed right at the
This is where he gets killed. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm remembering this correctly.
Yeah, he gets killed. Johnny shows up, and they're like, "Oh, Johnny's back." And so Johnny sees K-Stu, and maybe he reproclaims his love for her.
They have another moment. Which, Dan, why doesn't this pay off at the end of the movie?
I mean, them like getting married?
I don't care if they get married. He becomes a good guy. He switches sides, and they don't have a moment at the end of the movie. They have these flirtations throughout every encounter, except for when he becomes a good guy. Suddenly, they don't even talk. Why don't they have that moment?
Well, K-Stu's into girls.
Wait, what?
Oh, you missed that?
I did.
Back in the gym scene where she steals the badge.
Yeah.
There's like two other hot girls that she's like, call me. She doesn't do call me, but basically they telegraph that she's into girls.
I think I was completely belligerent because of the ass shot that I was yelling at this point and did not see that moment of the movie because that doesn't spark any sort of memory in my head right now.
Yeah, there's two other super hot girls that she flirts with both of them, and so you're like, okay, that's what's happening. And there's also a whole thing where supposedly her and Jane were flirting at one point in like a sexy way, which I sort of remember because I read some stuff about. I was reading some comments, and they were like, "I wish that Jane and K-Stu and Sabina had gotten together." And I'm like,
I would be okay with that. That sounds interesting. Better than the stupid knob that they put her with at the end of the movie. Good God, that guy's dull.
So we're in the rock. So the big rock quarry battle. Basically, everyone escapes. Elizabeth Banks they think she's turned on them, and they limp out of there, barely surviving. They end up on this ferry, and that's one thing that I found interesting about this movie is they liked to show bruising, especially on K-Stu. Like when
Mhm.
she got beat up, they'd put bruising on her and do
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is interesting.
Yeah, if I would have seen her get hurt more, and I don't mean like I want to see her get hurt, but the
Sure.
action never feels painful. There's never like the moment where I'm like, oh, like that's what I want from an action scene. I want to feel the grit. I want to feel the hurt.
Two scenes everybody should watch if they're going to try and make an action movie. The glass scene in Die Hard, where he
Ugh.
runs over through that glass, which is horrifying, and the scene in that stupid movie where you can't talk, and they're the family living in the farm.
Oh, the
She
John
step-
Krasinski.
When she steps on that nail. Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah. Your
I mean,
heart stops. You're just like, oh
I hated most of the rest of that movie, but you were just like, yeah, that movie's terrible.
no, Dan, it's not
It was
terrible.
horrible.
It's fine.
When she steps on that nail, you're just like, someone just took an ice pick and stuck it into my heart. It's
Yeah.
so pain, because we all understand that pain, and I understand you don't want to do that to your character, but you got to do that to your character. There's some movie where the good guy gets chained up and they're like beating him and he's all chained up at the
Yeah.
end, and then he, there's always those, and you're like, I hate those scenes. But
Is that Lethal Weapon by any chance? Where
Oh,
Mel
I think
Gibson
it's-
is like
I think it's the Lethal
hanging on the
Weapon.
thing and they're zapping
Yeah.
him and so good.
it's horrible
Yeah.
because you don't like that. You don't want your characters to suffer like that. You don't want to just put them in this stupid rock grinder where they're like,
You know who did that scene better than they did? Mannequin. If you remember the movie Mannequin, it's a better version of what I just saw in this action film.
So so what we're saying is they should have watched. They should have watched
They should
Mannequin
have watched Mannequin.
to improve their
It's like a
action
garbage
scenes.
chipper, and he's grabbing her, but she's a mannequin. It's great. It's tense. It's so much better than what I just saw.
So they go back to the hotel. I think the saint calls them and says, "Get out of the hotel," and then they get out of the hotel, and then they go outside, and then
Wait, is that the explosion?
the explosion.
We need to talk about this because how are they not dead?
Because the
If the
explosion happened over there, like 3
Did
feet
it?
away from.
Okay, yeah, 3 feet. That's how I felt as well. Like Elena's in another room, so I'm okay with her, surviving, I guess. But K-Stu is
You can like see the blast like coming
she's
towards them.
right next to it, and she does the thing, and I was like, oh well, she's dead. There's no way she lives through this.
The thing you got to always remember is like when Indiana Jones is running away from like the fire or the water, he's always a little faster than that fire or water.
Yeah, he's not in the middle of the fire for 30 seconds. I was very confused.
They were thrown clear. And then we like Elizabeth Banks is there and Patrick Stewart's back, and we're like, oh, who's the good guy? And everybody's shooting everybody. And
Do you feel that way?
what?
Did you feel that way? Were you like, oh, I don't know who the bad guy is?
Well, at that point, I knew who the bad guy was because, of course, we knew it was Patrick Stewart.
So did you fall for the red herring of making Elizabeth Banks the bad guy at the 1 hour mark?
I was like, okay. I mean, I was keeping my mind open that
Okay.
she could be the bad guy. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see where that goes because you're not invested in any of these people. So,
Well, that's true.
it's like, you're like, oh, well, there's going to be a surprise, and probably will be a double cross and double twist.
If that had been the case, I would be fine. If there was a double cross, that's fine. But they laid out this red herring halfway through the movie, and I was like, well, there's no way she's the bad guy. You don't set that up this early in a spy movie for her to be the bad guy, because then you just know. And then you just watch it and be like, well, she's the bad guy. She's the bad guy. I'm so bored. So immediately I was like, okay, well, she's not the bad guy, which means the only other person in this movie it could be is Patrick Stewart. So,
Could have been Digimon Hansu. He could have faked his death under there.
That would be a fun twist. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense, but I'd be on board for it.
So then they're in the hospital and Jane's crying.
Yeah, just blubbering. She's a horrible crier. I think it was supposed to be a joke, you think?
No, she was really crying. Yeah, she was a horrible. I mean, You were like, you were so attractive, and you are not attractive when you cry, and
It's just, it
you
was
want to
such a,
get away from her. You're
she
like,
was just such a blubbery, like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm so sad that my friends died. It was like, ooh, and I was laughing, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be.
I was
That's
very
my fault.
embarrassed for her. So now it's time for the big party. The big party.
Wait,
Big
hold on.
party.
You're skipping the part where all the angels find out that Patrick Stewart's the bad guy. And this is very important to me because it just points out that nobody cares about anything in this entire movie. Kristen Stewart reports, or at least used to report to Patrick Stewart. He was her Bosley.
Yeah.
She shows no emotions that he's the bad guy. She makes like a joke. She's like, oh, well, he was always kind of freaky because he's British or something. And I was like, what? This guy like trained you and worked with you for years, and you don't care that he's now the bad guy? I was belligerent at this point. Nobody cares about anything in this movie. Just the worst. I'm so mad about everything. And then Elizabeth Banks. Oh, sorry.
I didn't even write down that part because I didn't even remember it.
Oh, I wrote it down because it frustrated me to know. Oh, and then immediately followed by Elizabeth Banks knowing the entire plan. She's like, oh, Elena will be at this party because he holds it every year, and I've been tracking him for a while because I thought he was bad. It's like, what are you talking about? You have a team of spies. Why did you never once be like, okay, I think this guy might be a bad guy? Why would you hold that in? And then she abandons them at the rock quarry without telling them that she's leaving? She's their getaway plan. And she just disappears? They are all terrible, terrible spies. They're the worst team ever.
Well, this is the first installment, so they're going to get better in the second one.
I don't buy it. I don't believe it because they don't seem to be learning from their mistakes.
It's like when the X-Men are in the danger room. At first, they're all doing their own thing, but by the end of the issue, they're all like, Wolverine's throwing Colossus, and Colossus is throwing Wolverine,
and I think that's great. That's how you learn to be a team. That didn't happen.
Nightcrawler's making Wolverine's head fly off, and then the head appears and bites someone. Like they're using all their powers in tandem. Storm is, electrifying Wolverine's claws, so they're electric claws.
And all that's cool. It's teamwork. We don't get any of that in this movie. There's no teamwork.
So Elena's been captured by the bad guys. Is that before they even came? Oh, she got captured. Got captured at the rock court. Oh, Patrick Stewart's got her.
Yeah, on the explosion, he comes and he's like, I'm a Bosley. Come with me. That was more Sean Connery. I can't do Patrick Stewart.
It's pretty Sean Connery.
So
this has to be Tony's favorite scene of the movie, where they put the chain around her neck. I mean, Tony's like sitting there watching this, going yes.
Here's the thing,
and I'm the one holding that chain.
Geez, first of all, if anything, I want it to be the other way around. But we're too deep into.
Tony's got fantasies. Okay,
so now I'm blushing.
She has 6-inch heels, and she's grinding them into my feet and my. There it is. Wow, Tony, Jesus Christ. Dark stuff, very dark stuff.
Sorry. That took a turn. I'm literally blushing right now. That's unfortunate. So let's talk about this scene for a second.
I'm glad I wrote chained Elena, because I would not have remembered any of that if I hadn't written that down.
So I did want to enjoy this, the princess. What is the Star Wars lady? I can't. I'm flustered right now.
Oh, you wanted to play Jabba Hutt to her slave Leia?
Yeah, exactly. Princess Leia. Yeah, that's what this is, right? It's Princess Leia in the bikini.
Oh, it is.
Only they put her in a red dress that didn't work for me. But none of that is important.
It wasn't really a sexy dress, really. No, it was kind of just like meh.
And she's just one of the most attractive people in the world. It's fine. So it's the whole scene was weird to me because I couldn't tell, were there like spikes on the chain on the inside or something? because he pulled on it, right? And she, went back as you would if it was a chain, but then she was like in pain and she was pushing it. Like she wasn't, she didn't get her hands in it to hold it. She was like, and I was confused on the physics of the chain. It didn't make any sense to me what was happening.
I only watched the chain scene once. I mean, I'm sure you've gone back and really tried to analyze the chain scene while you were alone.
It's just
on your phone.
The whole thing didn't make any sense.
Now my question is, since you're so in love, so I was searching her because I had never heard of her.
Okay.
And so what immediately popped up on the YouTube was Naomi Scott bikini scene, where in the Power Rangers movie, she strips down to nothing and then dives in the the pool. And so I think a lot of people like to go to that scene.
First, I mean, maybe actually we shouldn't do Power Rangers on this podcast because I liked that movie, and I'm one of the only people in the world, I think.
Based on what I saw, it looked really terrible. Although the bad woman looked like she was very funny in a terrible way.
There's a lot of it's not a good movie, obviously, but there's some great stuff in this movie, and I have problems with it. I have issues, but she's amazing in it, and Dacre Montgomery, oh my god,
which one is he?
He's Billy from Stranger Things, but he's the Red Ranger in Power Rangers.
Oh, and I like him. He's amazing.
He is so good.
Wait, and is he the blonde guy? Is he the main guy?
Yes, in Power Rangers.
He's the blonde guy? Oh, I didn't even recognize him.
And he's great in the movie. He's got this cool arc where he's, his dad's not, it doesn't matter. That's a different movie. But what were we talking about? I like Power Rangers. That's the moral of this story. Oh, God, the chain. I'm holding it myself. I'm choking myself right now. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know. Terrible scene.
So the other two girls show up, and we get to the part that I've been waiting to talk about the entire time because it's the classic thing. They do the dance.
I almost forgot about the dance number. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. What? Why is this a thing? And why did I never notice it before we started doing this podcast? Because it's in a lot of movies.
So it's in Mac and Me. And what was the other movie we did that had it in it? Did we do another movie with the dance scene?
Oh, Pluto Nash. Pluto Nash had it in it.
Pluto Nash. And so this is the third movie out of, I don't know, this is our sixth or seventh movie that has had this choreographed stupid dance scene.
Doesn't? What? Why is this a thing? I don't understand. It's not cool.
It's not cool. But it's interesting. They have the clip is on YouTube, and I was reading all the comments, and the people are all like, well, it makes perfect sense because all the women at the party are angels, so they all would know the dance.
Huh. That does actually make sense. But
no, it does not make any sense because they don't know everybody's angels, and they did not get all together to practice the stupid dance. Good God, that's so stupid.
Wait, time out. Time out, damn.
Are you okay?
Now,
you got that chink.
I got the chink. I pushed too hard on my own trachea. That's what happened. So do our angels not know that everyone else is angels?
Absolutely, they do not know.
But Elizabeth Banks does, because she's like, send the love. And then
so she knows. So she knows. Yes.
So basically, what we're saying is that Elizabeth Banks doesn't communicate with her own team at all.
Nope.
She doesn't tell them anything about their own missions. She sends them to die. Essentially, she's a terrible Bosley. The worst Bosley I've ever seen. Worse than Patrick Stewart, her twin's back. Anyhow, the dancing scene. I can understand that argument, saying that they're all angels, so they all know the same dance. Maybe it's the angel dance. Right?
Do the angel dance. Do the angel dance. Dance, angel dance. And they could have gotten Prince to do it if Prince wasn't dead.
Oh, Prince. But so why, if they don't know that other people are angels, then why do they know to do the dance Yeah, you're right. It falls apart. That theory totally falls apart.
So basically, there's a whole thing. Patrick Stewart's being all hammy, and he's the bad guy, and he's gonna do the thing, and he's gonna this, and he's gonna that, and then Jane has to fight the bad guy, Hodak.
Well, so hold on. Have we already done the Naomi Scott where she programs the thing to EMP explode?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we haven't done anything because there's nothing really.
It doesn't. But I'm just so. Are we to believe that quickly in that room she reprogrammed this device to flash lights? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because she doesn't have time with the thing. She just like pushes her finger to it, right? I don't know.
They sort of put her at a terminal or something. Yeah, they kind of give her some access, which of course makes no sense because, yeah. Here you go, computer hacker. Here's a computer to do whatever it's like, yeah, I'm going to, it's like, oh, trained assassin, here's a gun. Just don't shoot us with this gun, but use the gun to do things that we want you to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, and
more importantly, why don't they just hire someone else to do it who's evil? Great
question. Why don't you have an evil tech genius working on it? You're stealing tech. You should have someone that can use it.
And why does this have to be done now? This got to be done now in the 5 minutes that we have.
We're going to
give her so we can say the joke that I just programmed it to do lights and not to kill us.
Yeah, not a joke, by the way. It's just an excuse. Just an excuse to keep the movie going.
Yes.
I have a couple of problems with the way they set up the ending that I'd like to talk about. The Brock character, which is the owner of the company, right, is all for people dying to get his thing out.
I don't know.
But then he does a total 180 and is against the plan at some point. I got very confused. And then he went out to the party and people were fighting and he's like, what is happening? And I was like, what do you mean what's happening? You planned this. This is your idea. You're the bad guy.
No, Patrick Stewart's the bad guy. It's all his idea.
I don't know.
The Brock guy is nobody. He's like another red herring that they didn't even want to turn into a real red herring. They didn't even set him up as a red herring. He's just oblivious and dumb.
But he owns a multi-billion-dollar tech company? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, I mean, if Elon Musk is...
He's crazy, sure, but he's not an idiot. He's not the dumbest. Is he? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. He's smart at some, people are smart at something.
I guess.
Oh, and then Patrick Stewart does a whole I was pushed out, blah, blah, blah. And
which we don't see at all.
It's so thin. It's just like, it's razor thin that
he's 90 years old.
It's like, there wasn't a reason. They didn't say, oh, you're too old, you're losing this, if he'd have made a mistake, there you go. If he'd have made a mistake handling an angel, if their trio had lost their third angel, you'd have been like, oh man, and they're
slipping.
Like, you're slipping, man, you got to go. And he's like, no, and you're like, oh, but yeah. I mean, you could have made it very emotional, where his leaving is actually emotional. He's like, but that would have telegraphed that he's the bad guy or something, or
I guess,
or whatever. But if you played that right, you'd have been like, oh, we got to call him in because they need his, they call him in, K-Stu gets him on the phone and says,
yes,
Bosley, you got to come back. And then Elizabeth Banks is trying to move in and they're like, no, we want our Bosley. We understand he made a mistake, and he's like, I know the girls,
That's better than my Patrick Stewart.
That was actually not too bad. But that would cause emotions and cause character and cause people to care about each other and cause someone to be something.
And not a single person cares about anything in the entire film.
So like every man on the dance floor is a bad guy and has a gun, and they all pull the guns out, I think.
Yep.
And then the lights go out, and then they've all been put to sleep because every woman in the place is an angel.
Correct. Which none of that makes any sense whatsoever. But
so nobody brought a date. Nobody brought a date.
Nobody brought a date. They all met there. I don't understand anything. What
Just
kind of
all
party
these
is
guys
this?
in cars and guns and women who are like, "Ooh, we're sexy and looking for a party."
So did the guy who throws the party, which is the Brock guy, I think, did he just hire an agency that was like, hey, we have a bunch of models? Maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know. But
Yeah,
what I want to,
but it's every woman.
every single one of them.
And are you telling me no man? Like you and I would have had dates.
Well,
We'd
if
have had
they go with us.
we'd have had our wives there. Our wives would not let us go to that party without them.
I mean,
Thank you
that's
very
true.
much.
I just wouldn't go to the party. You know what I mean?
Well, our wives
I'd skip it.
Our wives wouldn't let us go to parties because
I mean, I'm too old to go to parties, if we're being honest. I'm tired by 7. I don't want to go out. And then there's a lot of ruckus. See, this is why I don't go to parties. Everyone got knocked out. That's no good. So hold on. Before we move on,
okay,
I want to
that's
talk
Charlie's Angels.
No, stop it, Dan. I want to talk about the
Moving
Patrick
on to next
Stewart,
week.
Elizabeth Banks fight. Because what?
They fought?
I mean, if you call it fighting, Patrick Stewart, a 95-year-old man, kicks the shit out of Elizabeth Banks. What kind of a message is that? I was so like this woman who's supposed to be powerful, this Bosley character, just gets the shit kicked out of her.
And yeah, she was an angel.
She was an angel. That's right. She used to be a spy, and she just gets completely dominated. And then she lays on the floor for like 4 minutes. Ow, ow, ow. I'm like, what is happening right now? I don't understand the message of this movie.
So at the end, Jane's boyfriend shows up, and he is not right for her. She is right for me, but whatever.
I guess they overlooked that in the
They got the wrong nerdy handsome guy, but whatever.
Is he nerdy? I didn't buy for a second that he was like a programmer.
Lab coat. So he's nerdy.
Is that? Oh, that's what I was supposed to do. I got it. Got it.
Lab coat.
What is this? Improv 101?
Yeah. And then we have a whole bunch of scenes where Elena becomes an angel. She's trained with Ronda Rousey, Danica Patrick, what's her name? I don't know. All these famous women.
This is my favorite part of the movie. These like little bits, because they're funny, they're comedic little snippets. It's like, this is what Elizabeth Banks can write, is bits. She's pretty good at writing bits. And why didn't this happen? I would have, if we're introducing a new angel, I would like to see her go through the training process a little bit. So, I mean, I'm glad they did it at the end of the movie, but, it's too little too late. The best part of the movie is the end credits. That's dumb.
It certainly, you could have had a thing where at the 1 hour mark, that's when she becomes an angel.
Yeah.
And that would have been really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they recruited her. They're going to need her to be up to this snuff if we're going to go out there and accomplish this project.
Yeah, because
and then they actually give them something to accomplish, because they didn't really accomplish anything.
Oh no, not even a little bit.
Right? They just went to a party and kind of they didn't even really because there's nothing to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's there to accomplish? Sort of find the bad guy? I mean, and you can't eliminate this product from happening.
No,
and this product's
for sure not.
always going to have its problem. You can't fix this product. And that's why
she said that she could. Naomi Scott says she could fix it. Yeah,
but she could fix it, but another programmer could just unfix it in 5 minutes.
Sure, yeah.
Right? That's the whole thing. It's a
bad product.
It's a bad product, but it's not a bad product because it's a thing that doesn't make any sense.
Well, sure. I don't know if that makes it not a bad product.
Any final thoughts for this movie?
Oh, I have a ton, real quick. Not a ton, but I do have. I want to comment.
Why did I pick this movie? Let me say this.
Okay. I am very disappointed in this movie. I so desperately wanted it to be good. And now I'm going to say something that we disagree on, I think very strongly. I was hoping this was a Ghostbusters situation. The reboot of the Ghostbusters movie.
The Lady Ghostbusters, you mean?
Yeah, Lady Ghostbusters. I know that that's how you feel. I genuinely really like that movie. I think that it's
We're
funny.
we're
It's
gonna do that
fun.
movie. We're
I
gonna do
think
that movie then. That because we haven't done a movie yet where you really like the movie and
I
I
know.
really dislike the movie.
I know. And that would be a good one to do. I think Kate McKinnon in that movie is
Oh.
transcendent. She is so good in that movie to me. You know what? Let's save this
Ooh,
talk.
yeah, let's not do
But
this talk right now.
okay, but I want to say I wanted it to be a Ghostbusters situation where I felt a lot of people disliked it unfairly. I'm not saying you do. There are certainly problems with the movie, but a lot of what people didn't like is just that it wasn't like Ghostbusters. It was, ladies doing lady things as opposed to,
Sure.
Ghostbusters. And
Sure.
so that's what I was hoping is that Charlie's Angels was kind of a situation where, maybe Elizabeth Banks was right, where the haters hated it because, they're not, because I believe what she said was men aren't ready for a female-led action movie or something like that.
So not true. And then she
Agreed.
dumped on Wonder Woman, which
Yes.
it's like, you know why Wonder Woman is great? It's because Gal Gadot is great.
Yeah,
She
act.
is
She's awesome.
amazing.
Yes. So
They let her be awesome.
Exactly. So I was hoping that that was this situation where I went in and I was like, oh yeah, all these people are just hating on this movie for no reason. It's great. But it's not. It's such a waste of a movie. It's a waste of talent. It's a waste of a franchise that I enjoy. I'm heartbroken. Like I was so upset last night that I was cranky the rest of the night. We tried to watch some TV and we watched a movie. And I was just like, I can't do any of this. I'm so mad right now. So that's my final thoughts, is that it's a real shame that this movie was just as bad as people say it was.
So now's the time where we pick something we liked this week. Tony, you start?
It's going to tie into what I just said.
Sure.
Last night, very cranky. And so in order to get out of that slump, we decided to start rewatching Schitt's Creek. Because it's just one of my favorite shows that I've seen in a long, long time. And I haven't seen the first season in a while, and it holds up. It's so good. I love the characters. I love the town. It's so funny. And we have not seen the last season yet. So we're going to watch it through and then purchase the last season before it drops on Netflix. And we're going to watch it. And if you haven't seen the show, watch it. It's good.
I watched the first 3 or 4 of the first season, and I liked it. It's not really the comedy that I enjoy typically. So
sure.
And our good buddy Sue Kate she's also a huge fan of that show.
Is she?
Oh yeah, she's a huge fan.
Oh, I'm gonna talk to her about it.
Okay. My pick is Little Women.
The new one?
The new one. Which just the cast is amazing. I mean, what's her name? Saoirse Ronan. I've loved her in pretty much every movie she's ever been in. And then what's her name? Emma Watson.
Yeah.
She's good. And then what's her name? Pugh, P-U-G-H, whatever her name is.
I don't know.
The woman from Midsummer. She was in that Midsummer movie.
Okay.
She's incredible. I loved her in this movie. Her voice is amazing, and I really disliked Midsummer for a lot of very particular reasons. And written and directed by Greta Gerwig, and she sort of takes the movie and makes it into. She does a framing device where it's sort of the second half of the book, and then sort of weaves the two things together. Beautifully directed, beautifully written, just like wonderful girl power writing, just really talking about all that stuff in like a beautiful way.
Okay.
By the end you are crying, or at least I am crying. There were many, many, many different parts where it's like I almost started crying. And it's like, give us characters. Just give us characters. Don't stop giving us non-characters. Just give us someone that we can care about. And when K-Stu gets bruised, I want to feel that bruise. I want to I want to get emotional in the middle of an action comedy movie for these characters. Because you have the actors. She has those chops. All these women, they're strong, good women.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's room to make it funny too. And it didn't happen. So Little Women, big thumbs up.
All right, we'll have to watch it. My wife's been wanting to watch that for a while, and instead I made her watch Charlie's Angels. So that didn't work out.
She's welcome.
Yeah.
So now it's the point at which Tony gets to pick a movie for us to watch for our next episode.
All right. So I went through a lot of inner turmoil about this decision because part of me wanted to punish you for what you did to me this week. But then also the other part of me was like, I just need to rebound and do something that could be fun and silly. So I don't know if you're going to agree with my choice, but I will defend it.
Wait, is this a movie you like?
I've never seen it, but
Okay.
my reasons for watching it, I believe, are sound. But you know me. So you know Dwayne the Rock Johnson, right?
I love Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Who doesn't? He's the greatest American hero.
He's one of those, like Jason Momoa. He's like one of those guys that you're just like, I love this guy. You don't like Jason Momoa?
You know, I don't, but that's a different story, I guess. Yeah, well, I've got my personal issues with him.
Wow. Okay, so everyone loves The Rock. Most people love Jason Momoa.
And now, moving on, do you know who John Cena is?
John Cena, another wrestler. I mean,
that's the theme.
My period where I watched wrestling was The Rock.
Oh, really?
That's the period, the 2 or 3 year period I watched wrestling. I'm a Mankind guy. Mankind
Mankind's great.
The greatest wrestler of all time. He's the funniest. And that was when The Rock was doing his thing. And The Rock, I hated him. Oh, God, I hated him. I hated him. But you were supposed to hate him.
Exactly. The heel, as they call it.
Yes, the people's elbow. You know, he was great. Okay, so John Cena, also a wrestler, which I don't think John Cena was wrestling at that time. I don't remember him.
No, I don't believe so. I believe he came a little bit after that.
Yeah.
So now what these two gentlemen have in common, other than being, superstars now, is that they both began their filmmaking career with a little production company called WWE Films. Now,
I have the feeling I have no idea what movies you're gonna tell me the movie, and I'm gonna be like, I don't know what the hell that is.
That's okay. You're gonna know who stars in it, and that's what matters. So before any of that happened, WWE Films, which is under a different name back in the 80s, I don't remember what it was. They tried their hand at this before with a little hero you might remember named Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Now, they tried
Are you sure we can watch this movie, whatever movie you're picking?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I've already looked into it. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it looks amazing. So the very first film that WWE Films did, which was under a different name, was with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and it's called No Holds Barred. And that is the movie that we are doing. And
why are you talking about John Cena and The Rock?
Because I wanted you to understand that the formula does work sometimes, but it did not work for Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Hulk Hogan did not make the transition from being wrestler to movie star to although he did do reality TV and is a beloved person. I may have seen this movie.
Really?
I may have seen
wait
this
to
movie.
watch it.
What year is it from?
It's from 84? That's a question mark. It's 80s. I know that much.
Cyndi Lauper? No Cyndi Lauper?
Cyndi Lauper? Like the singer? What about it? I don't know. She's not it. Is she in it?
Is she in it? Maybe, probably. She might be in it. You don't know about the whole Cyndi Lauper wrestler connection?
No. What?
In Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Captain Lou Albano, a wrestler, was in there, and he played her dad, and so she had a whole sort of weird wrestling connection.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. So I would not be surprised if she's in this movie.
I hope she pops up. I really do. But I wanted to do it because it's interesting because they had such great success. Eventually, they figured out the formula, I think. But this was kind of the first attempt, and it crashed and burned, as far as I know.
Now, does WWE Pictures actually produce any John Cena movies or any Rock movies?
They did the first Rock movie, which was Scorpion King, which we don't talk about. But then they also did the movie that ended up being called The Rundown with him and Sean William Scott.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And if we're talking about good action scenes, that movie's a good one to watch because the whole point of it is like it hurts because he's the Rock, so he's beating the crap out of Sean William Scott, and you see it, and it's awesome. It's good. And then they did Walking Tall with the Rock. Like they did a couple with the Rock.
So they did do some of the Rock.
And John Cena started in The Marine, I believe, is the one that he did. And that kind of was the beginning of his transition as well. So that they started with WDB films and were able to branch out into mainstream Hollywood.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I have the feeling this is probably going to be the palate cleanser for all the Hollywood bullshit that we've been sort of
I'm hoping
stunk in for a couple of weeks, because there's just a Hollywoodness to some of these movies that they just become these Frankensteins, and you want to watch a movie that somebody wrote on the back of a matchbook and just let Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
And they put some money into it though. That's what's important is they tried really hard to make him a thing, and it just it didn't really work out as they were hoping.
He did great. I mean, he had a huge career.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But he was never
a movie star.
Yeah,
never a movie star.
Yes,
he was a superstar.
You're right. That was my mistake. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's time to say goodnight. Thank you all.
Sweet Prince.
Good night, and Charlie's Angels. Ugh.
Woof.
Woof, woof, woof. You stole aid money. Why did you steal that aid money? Give back the aid money, Johnny.
Just give it back, Johnny.
Just give it back. Just give back the aid money. But I had to spend it on hotels and drinks at the bar. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, watch it!